New York just created a new opportunity for licensed cannabis businesses, and I believe many operators are underestimating how significant it could become. The State of Office Cannabis Management is now accepting applications for cannabis showcase events, which will allow licensed dispensaries to host temporary cannabis farmers markets and pop up events throughout New York. These events are designed to bring together licensed cultivators, processors, distributors, and retailers in locations outside of traditional dispensaries while still operating under state regulations. And at first glance, this might sound like a simple marketing initiative. I think it's much bigger than that. I'm Daniel Sabet, CFO at GreenGrowth CPAs, and I've worked with cannabis businesses across multiple states as they've navigated new regulations, expanded operations, and built financial systems that support long-term growth. One thing I've learned is that successful cannabis markets don't just develop overnight. They evolve over time as regulators identify new ways to connect licensed businesses with consumers while continuing to move demand away from the illicit market. New York has experienced one of the most challenging cannabis rollouts in the country. Adult use cannabis was legalized in 2021, but the legal market developed much more slowly than expected. During that period, thousands of consumers continued purchasing cannabis from unlicensed retailers because licensed operators simply didn't have enough locations to meet demand. Even today, many licensed businesses continue to compete against established illicit market that developed long before legal dispensaries became widely available. The introduction of cannabis showcase events represents another step in addressing that challenge by allowing licensed businesses to meet consumers where they already are instead of expecting every customer to travel to a permanent dispensary. From a business perspective, these events have the potential to accomplish several important objectives at the same time. First, they create additional sales opportunities for licensed operators without requiring every new customer interaction to occur inside a traditional retail location. For cultivators and processors, these events create opportunities to introduce products directly to consumers while working alongside licensed dispensaries. For retailers, they provide another channel for customer acquisition and brand awareness. Second, they increase consumer education. One of the biggest differences between the legal cannabis market and the illicit market is the ability to educate customers about testing standards, product quality, dosing, and compliance. Showcase events give businesses an opportunity to have those conversations in person while building trust with new consumers. Third, they help strengthen the legal supply chain. Every consumer who purchases from a licensed event is purchasing tested products that have to move through the New York regulated system. That benefits the entire industry because it supports licensed cultivators, processors, distributors, laboratories, and retailers instead of directing revenue toward the illicit marketplace. State officials have consistently emphasized that expanding legal access is one of the most effective ways to reduce illegal cannabis sales. When you look at this initiative through that lens, these events are simply pop-up shops. They are part of New York's broader strategy to continue expanding the legal cannabis ecosystem. I've seen similar situations play out in emerging cannabis markets across the country. Imagine two dispensaries opening in different parts of New York. Both have similar product selections, similar staffing levels, and similar financial resources. The first dispensary waits for customers to discover the business through traditional advertising and foot traffic. The second dispensary actively participates in showcase events throughout the region. Management uses those events to introduce new brands, educate consumers, build those relationships with local cultivators, and collect customer information that supports future marketing efforts. At the end of the year, both businesses may have generated respectable revenue, but the second operator has built something much more valuable. They've developed a recognizable brand within their community. They have expanded their customer base beyond the four walls of their dispensary. They've strengthened relationships throughout the licensed supply chain, and they've created additional opportunities for repeat business long after the events have ended. Now that is an important distinction. The most successful cannabis operators don't simply wait for customers to find them. They continually create new opportunities to engage with consumers while remaining compliant with state regulations. As more licensed businesses enter New York's market, customer experience and brand recognition will become increasingly important competitive advantages. If you're a licensed cannabis operator in New York, I think this is the right time to begin thinking strategically about how these events fit into your long-term business plan. Rather than viewing a showcase event as a single day of sales, consider how it can support broader business objectives. It can introduce your products to new customers, strengthen relationships with existing patients and consumers, create partnerships with other licensed businesses, and generate brand recognition that continues long after the event has concluded. At the same time, operators should remember that successful events require the same financial discipline as every other part of the business. Inventory planning, staffing, transportation, compliance, security, and cash flow all need to be evaluated before participating. The businesses that prepare carefully will much more likely to generate a positive return on their investment than those who simply view these events as an opportunity to increase sales for a weekend. I also believe these events represent something larger than temporary retail opportunities. They demonstrate that New York regulators are continuing to refine the state's cannabis program by creating additional pathways for licensed businesses to reach consumers while strengthening the legal marketplace. That's an encouraging sign for operators who have invested significant capital into building compliant business during one of the most challenging cannabis rollouts in the country. The legal cannabis industry succeeds when licensed businesses have more opportunities to compete, consumers have more opportunities to purchase regulated products, and the gap between the legal and illicit market continues to narrow. Cannabis showcase events have the potential to move New York one step closer to that goal. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp.